Good morning, guys. Welcome to Real Estate Steals, Deals, and Opportunities once again. Today, we're going to talk about calculating return on investment, which you might hear, hey, what's the ROI on that? And it stands for return on investment. And this is pertaining to real estate. When you have rental property, what is your return on that rental property? So let's talk about that today. Okay, so first we must gather all of the income and expense information for the property that we're going to do this for, right? So calculations are done on an annual basis, and this is typically how the industry does it. So I'm going to use industry standards today. And then, because this is a personal preference, you can change those industry standards to fit your property management style, or as we go along, you'll see what I mean. So income would be the rental income, all of the income that you would derive and receive from that particular property that you are purchasing. So if it is, multiple units, then you've got all of the various tenants' rental income, as well as maybe laundry machines, vending machines. Maybe there's a satellite dish, on the property, or a tower, and so you're getting cell phone company income. Whatever income comes in from that property is what you're going to include as far as what you're receiving. Okay, so that's your income. Now we want to look at all of the expenses. So that would include the real estate taxes, all of the maintenance costs to maintain that property, take care of it, the lawn, what it costs to maintain the lawn every month, the pool, extermination, repairs, homeowners association dues, property management fees, any other expense that you spend to own that property and have that property, okay, would fall into your expense list. So you have your income and your expenses. So you need all of those figures in order to determine properly your ROI. Okay, so when there are no hard costs to use, so let's assume you're buying a property, it's vacant, it's not occupied, and so it's not coming to you with expenses, based on a tenant living there. It's been sitting vacant. Maybe you're buying a bank foreclosure, and so there's nothing that they can give you to tell you what the expenses would be. Well, then we're going to use more industry standard figures, okay? However, you're welcome to use your own figures again. So if you have experience in running rental property, you're an experienced landlord, then this is going to be a little easier for you. You're going to already have a knowledge of what it would cost for you to own that property, what your expenses might be, okay? So otherwise, you're going to use whatever's trending in that area for your expenses, okay? So industry figures are like this, okay? So property management is the industry figure that is used in formulations to calculate ROI is 10%. And so 10% of the total income for the year, remember we use annual figures, is what the industry standard is to use. So you might negotiate, 5% property management. You might say, I'm going to manage everything on my own and I'm not even going to use this figure. Or you might, pay more. I don't know. Okay, so whatever it is that you can apply. But if you don't know and you say, I just want to use the industry standard figures, then you're going to use 10% for property management. Okay, vacancy ratios, it's typical in the industry to put 5 to 10%. So it might be, you might have a market trend in your area that vacancies are high. And so you might want to go with 10% or even higher. And if the property is coming to you like in very poor condition and is partially rented, you might even have a higher vacancy ratio because you're going to be vacant for a while. So you're going to use industry standards or you're going to use the market trend there. Okay, or a little bit of both. Maintenance, and this would be the cost to maintain that property throughout the year. Tenants call and I have a leaky toilet, I have this problem or that problem. So we would know our hard costs, for maintaining the property if we have exterminators, lawn people, pool people. But then you have these things that come up, and you might also have money that's set aside for the budget for upcoming capital expenses, capital improvements, like, hey, the roofs are coming to an end. We're going to start setting aside this for roofs. Okay, so you might want to keep that in mind as well. But 10% of the total income is an industry standard to use for maintenance on a property. All right, we're going to show you some examples, but let's start with these two. So let's assume that you're buying these two homes next to each other as a package, and you get to buy them both as a package for $125,000 rent ready. Okay, so we're going to look at this example. The income would be $1,100 per month for each. So we're going to bring in $1,100 for each property. So wow, what a steal! $125 ready to go, and your tenants are going to pay you $1,100 a month each. Okay, and the tenants, because these are real estate single family homes, are going to pay all of their own utilities, and they're going to maintain the lawn for you. So that will help keep your maintenance costs down. So you see how you already can fluctuate your ROI there a little bit. The expenses, on the other hand, will include $1,815 for real estate taxes for the year. And, there's a homeowners association we have to pay $100 a month each property per month. So that's $200 a month that we're spending on that. Okay, so these are what we're being given to start with. So our annual income, guys, comes to both tenants paying every month all year long $26,400 with a purchase price ready to rent of $125,000. So to determine the gross return on investment, you would simply divide the annual income by the total investment. Remember that you would need to include renovation money if you needed to do renovation. So in other words, if your purchase was at 100 and you were going to spend 25 more on renovations, then you'd be all in at 125. So you want to use that total investment. All right. So in this scenario, 26,400 annual income divided by your investment of 125 gives you a gross return of 21%. But guys, we cannot buy anything based on a gross return. Okay, we have got to absolutely make our decisions based on a net return because we have no idea what all the expenses could be in this area. Now, down where I live here in South Florida, our real estate taxes are really high. Our insurance is really high. So these expenses are very high for our particular area of the country. So if you're using in your own backyard and you're in Ohio and you go, yeah, let's start looking at South Florida property, and you don't use our market trends, what we're paying for things, and you use yours, you're going to overpay for property, okay, and then get hurt afterwards. So you want to make sure that you're using the proper figures for wherever it is you're buying. You want to get hard facts. So if you're looking at a property, you might want to get a quote on the insurance to know, hey, how much is the insurance going to cost? You might want to go online and say, what are the real estate taxes? Okay, and the other thing you might want to find out is, for us, we buy a lot of homes that have been owned for a long time in the family. So the annual real estate taxes are very low. Well, we might only carry that tax rate for 1 year, but then once the county catches up with the new sale, they will raise our taxes significantly based on the transfer cost, the price. And so we can't bank, do our ROI, our net ROI, counting on this very low real estate tax, for more than a year. And so keep that in mind as well. Okay. All right, so now this is what it looks like when you use a formula, all right? We use Excel. We create a lot of our own formulas in-house, and there's a lot of formulas you can find online, a lot of calculators online that have standard figures in them, or you can actually enter the figures that you want to use, and it will calculate these things for you, okay? So in this scenario, again, our total investment is $125,000. We have our taxes, our insurance, the management fee at 10%, maintenance fee at 10%. We're not going to pay any utilities. Our tenants are going to pay those. Remember, our homeowners association is a total of $2,400 a year. We're going to use a 5% vacancy ratio. So our total annual expenses to own these properties together is $13,015. Now, when we take that amount and deduct it from our 26.4, then we come up with a net operating income of $13,385. So that's what we end up netting hypothetically based on our formula, right? That's as our budget. This is what the calculations look like. And then, of course, at the end of the year, what did we really spend on maintenance? What did we really spend on management? Okay, and then we get our real hard figure. So based on this scenario, our net return on investment is 10.71%. That's still a phenomenal return on the investment, because usually with real estate, you're also creating equity every year because there's appreciation depending on where you're at, right? So we've got appreciation, we've got we're hoping for increase in rental rates as we own it. So, we're hoping for all these things. And as these things take place, we're also continuing to make capital improvements because, the roofs won't last forever. We might have to replace, the air or the heat or the windows or something that's more of a major expense. Okay, so I want you to understand that if you are looking at gross returns and you're going, oh my gosh, 21% gross return, and my minimum is 18%, or I don't even want to look at it, well, you're almost at 50%, and that's with real estate single family homes in an HOA. So, I work with a lot of investors that don't even want a home in an HOA because they don't want to have to include that into their numbers. They want to own these things for a long, long time, and they don't want to run the risk that the HOA fee just goes up to some number they don't want to pay, et cetera. So everybody has their own criteria. Some people don't want to buy condos because the same thing, the fees and the assessments that come along. And some people only want to buy condos because they like to know that, hey, the condo association's worrying about all those capital improvements. I don't mind the assessments because I don't have to deal with it. So, food for thought. Anyway, there's how you calculate that. So now, how much does it change if you want to manage the property yourself? Okay. A lot of investors self-manage their properties because they either have staff or employees, or they just think, I'm saving a fortune. This is what I'm going to do because I have a lot of my own properties. And so the more properties I have, the more money I'm saving. It's cheaper for me to just have a full-time handyman on staff. Whatever the mindset is, I just want to show you how 10% can change your figure, okay? So all of the figures are exactly the same, but we now have a 0% management fee. Now, unless you include paying yourself, okay, which you can do, this is a 0% management fee. So we're changing the net operating income by about $3,000, right? So you are bringing in $3,000 more money by self-managing it, and it brings your net return on investment up a couple percent, right? So we're now netting 12.82%. So for me as an investor, when I actually acquire a property to wholesale it, I would send out just the hard costs so that I have more of an opportunity to reach people that are going to self-manage, that say, hey, I only want 12% or better, and they're going to self-manage. So I don't send out management fees, maintenance fees. I send out hard costs, like here's your taxes, here's your insurance, here's your HOA. And then everybody has their own personal opinion of what their formula looks like, right? Because investing is just that way. We're all investing based on our own criteria. I might not want to look at anything that doesn't give me a net yield of 15% or more, but other investors might want 7% or more. So I can't send out something with this formula and pitch it to everyone and get the same response. I'm only going to give out hard costs when I market. I'm just telling you this for you wholesalers or you marketing people who are marketing your real estate. I send out the hard costs and say, if you want to see what we're operating at, well, we've got the current owner has property management in place, and this is what their figures look like. So, your figures would change based on what you pay for these services. But otherwise, here's your hard facts, use your own formula, and let me know if you're interested. Okay, so this is how 10% can change the overall figure for a year. All right, so now tips for doing your own ROI, right? So use all of the industry standard formulas when calculating, even if you don't plan on hiring a property manager or spending 10% in maintenance. I encourage everybody to use those industry standards. So if you know that your maintenance is going to be less than 10% and you're going to self-manage, yes, that's going to change your numbers, but I encourage you to use those numbers so that if one day you decide, I actually want to retire and I don't want to continue to manage these 50 properties myself, I'm going to turn it all over to a property manager, and you've already included that in your initial figures, so you're good to go. All right, it's not really costing you anything. You're just doing better until you hand it over. So take the age of the buildings into consideration when calculating maintenance figures. The older a property is, the less it's been updated, the higher your maintenance figures may be because these systems are old. They're breaking down. If the property's been vacant for a long time and now somebody moves in and starts actually using everything, well, you might have some big things happen. Like if everything was cast iron and now everything is coming to into use again, that happens to us down here. We have these old cast iron pipes buried under the house, and when no water's being run through it, it's not being used, they crack and the tree roots come through them, and we're digging up everything and replacing it all with plastic because it's been vacant for a long time. So these are things we need to take into consideration when we're purchasing it, because we might have a capital expenditure that we're not aware of yet, or our maintenance figures are going to be higher because things are not newer. They're breaking down more. We need to take that into consideration and set aside money for these capital improvements that will be coming into play simply because we bought an older property. All right, so you can use Excel to create your own formulas for quick calculating, or invest in software programs, or of course you can find these formulas online. But if this is something you want to do, I suggest you go out and you find these things, you save them on your computer, you save those websites, you get it all worked out, because no one steals in slow motion. So if you are going to take advantage of something that you think this is a great deal, there's going to be a million people that are at it before you if you're not prepared. All right, and don't forget to include any renovation cost into your overall purchase price or that total investment figure so that your ROI calculation is accurate. All right, so guys, if you are interested in working with us here in South Florida, I encourage you to reach out to us. Our phone number is 561-429-6051. It's all on the screen here, and my email address is there. The website is 32westrealty.com. Come look at all the services that we can offer you, as well as we provide off-market properties for investors that want to purchase wholesale properties in South Florida. So I look forward to speaking with you. And if you enjoyed what you learned about calculating return on investment today, then I invite you to learnfromgreen.com, because you will learn more about real estate investing and other amazing topics via online, interactive, live video conference classes. When you increase your knowledge, you increase your income. So thanks for tuning in, guys.